Have you ever just stopped to think about how your mind works? I mean, really works. How a single word can just pop into your head and unleash this flood of images and memories and ideas, all completely separate from what's physically right in front of you. Well, this incredible ability we have to think in abstract concepts, it's one of the deepest mysteries of human cognition. And today, we're going to explore how AI is actually helping us unravel it. Okay, let's try something. When I say the word dinner, what comes to mind? For me, it might be a specific meal, maybe a person, a place. Your brain just instantly pulls up this rich, complex concept without needing to see or smell a thing. Now, we do this effortlessly, but for artificial intelligence, this has been a massive, massive challenge. The real question is, how do you teach an AI to think about things that aren't right here, right now? And here's the crucial difference between us and most AIs out there. Our thinking is super flexible, it's abstract. We can easily separate the idea of an apple from the actual sight of one. But for a lot of AI models, that knowledge is all tangled up inside millions of parameters. It's rigid. They can recognize an apple in a picture, for sure, but they don't really get the concept of an apple. And that brings us to what we can call the dinner problem. The real puzzle that researchers are trying to solve is how to build an AI that can form these abstract ideas from experience and then use them flexibly, just like we do. So in us humans, this seems to work in a kind of two-part process. First, you've got concept formation. Your brain takes all this complex sensory info, every single apple you've ever seen or touched or tasted, and it compresses it all down into a simple, efficient idea, the concept of apple. And that's really the core of how we learn and generalize. So, to try and mimic this ability, researchers developed this brand new framework they're calling CatsNet, and what's really fascinating is its design. They basically gave the AI a two-part brain, inspired by our very own cognitive architecture. Let's use an analogy here because it makes it super clear. Think of it like a librarian and a worker. The first part, that's the concept abstraction module. Our librarian, it gets a concept, like apple. It doesn't actually look for the apple. Instead, it goes and finds the correct instruction manual for how to identify apples. Then it hands that manual to the second part, the task-solving module, our worker. The worker takes those instructions and instantly reconfigures all its tools for that one specific job, finding an apple in an image. And this right here is what that looks like in the actual design. You can see the concept vector coming in at the top. The CA module, that's our librarian, processes it and sends these gating signals down to the TS module, our worker, which then gets to work on the image. It's just a really elegant way to separate the what from the how. So the design is clever, right? But does it actually work? Can this model take a massive data set of images and just learn abstract concepts from scratch simply by trying to figure out if an object is in a picture? Well, the results are pretty staggering. When they tested it on the huge ImageNet dataset, we're talking 1,000 different categories, CatsNet hit an average accuracy of 93%. I mean, chance is just 50-50 guessing. This is so much better. Some categories even hit 100% accuracy. So yeah, the model was definitely learning something powerful. But here's where we get the real proof. This is where it gets really cool. The researchers showed the model this picture of a harbor, and then they gave it two totally different concepts to look for. And this is the aha moment. When they asked it to find a lifeboat, the AI's attention, which you can see here in red, hones right in on the boat. Makes sense. But then using the exact same image, when they asked it to find a seashore, its attention completely shifts to the background. The hills, the buildings, the coastline. It's dynamically reconfiguring its focus based on the abstract idea it was given. As the researchers put it, this shows that the network can adapt to different functions based on the conceptual input. It's not just some rigid pattern matcher, no. It's a flexible problem solver that uses concepts to guide what it does. And that flexibility? That's a huge leap forward. Okay, so the next test was even more ambitious. If these concepts are truly abstract, truly decoupled from the raw data, could one AI teach a concept to another AI just by communicating it? To find out, they set up this amazing teacher and student experiment. So here's the setup. They took a teacher AI and trained it on 100 different object categories. Then they got a separate student AI and trained it on only 99 of them, leaving this deliberate knowledge gap. So the big question was, could the teacher communicate that missing concept to the student without the student ever seeing a single example? Just imagine this. The student AI had to find apples in images, but it had never ever been trained on what an apple looks like. All it got was the teacher AI's low-dimensional concept vector for apple.
basically just a string of numbers. It's kind of like trying to describe the color red to someone who's never seen it.
So, how did it do? The student AI achieved an average accuracy of almost 73%. Now, just let that sink in. On a task it had never been trained for, using only a concept communicated by another AI, it performed significantly above chance. This is proof that conceptual communication between these models is actually possible.
And the implication here is massive. This means new skills and knowledge could be shared between AI systems incredibly efficiently. Instead of having to do a costly, time-consuming retraining of a whole giant network, you could just transfer this compact little concept vector. This could totally change how we deploy and update AI in the real world.
So this brings us to the final and maybe the most fascinating piece of this whole puzzle. We know the model was inspired by the human brain, but how closely do its internal workings actually mirror our own?
Right, so we've seen that CatsNet can learn, it can adapt, it can even communicate using these abstract concepts. But is this just a clever trick, a cool bit of engineering? Or has it stumbled upon a computational principle that's genuinely similar to what's happening inside our own heads? To find out, the researchers compared the model's activity to human fMRI brain scans, and what they found were two striking resemblances. First, the way CatsNet organized its concepts actually correlated with brain activity patterns in our visual cortex. And second, the librarian module's job mirrored the function of a brain network that's responsible for semantic control.
This connection is, well, it's profound. The researchers conclude that their work establishes a framework that could offer real mechanistic insights into our own minds. This isn't just about building smarter AI anymore. It's about creating models that help us understand the very mechanics of human thought.
And so we end on this question. We started by asking how our minds can turn a simple word into such a rich idea. And now we have an AI that's starting to do the very same thing. So if we can build systems that learn and think in concepts like we do, maybe the ultimate prize isn't just more powerful technology, but a clearer window into ourselves.